Welcome to episode 385 of the Postal Hub podcast. I'm Ian Kerr. In a moment, I'm joined by João Lopes, founder, COO and CRO at parcel locker company Bloq.it. We're going to talk about finding locations for parcel lockers, maximising parcel locker usage, e-commerce returns, drop boxes, second-hand marketplaces, and more. This episode is sponsored by Bloq.it, and we recorded it at Parcel and Post Expo, which was held in Amsterdam back in October 2025. So if you are listening to this podcast on thepostalhub.com, you can find links to Bloq.it on the episode page. If you're out and about, you can just head on over to thepostalhub.com when you're finished listening to this and find the links to the Bloq.it company webpage there. So coming up in just a moment, João Lopes, founder, COO and CRO at Bloq.it. I'm here with João Lopes, the founder, CRO and head chef at Bloq.it. Everybody knows Bloq.it for parcel lockers, but we're not just going to sit here and talk about metal and doors and the physical hardware. Let's talk about a bit more about why parcel lockers matter as part of the modern delivery landscape, what parcel lockers mean for returns and things like that. Well, let's start by talking a little bit about, I said I wasn't going to talk about metal, but we'll talk about technology. We've had a lot of discussion in the sector lately about, do we do battery-powered lockers? Do we do solar-powered lockers? What are we going to do there? How can we have a good solution that's going to be sustainable, modular, and meet the customer's needs? So what are you seeing right now? What are the trends that we're seeing at Bloq.it when it comes to the power?
I think the narrative and the discussion in the industry is becoming very narrow focused on this topic or at least has become a bit narrow focused on this topic. Generally speaking, customers, and I mean our customers, they don't really care about the power source much.
It's not their first question. Where'd you get your power from?
Yeah, exactly. Like they want lockers to be deployed and close to their customers. When the market starts picking up and getting mature, that's where typically a lot of these companies will be competing for the most, is who gets the best spots, who can scale faster, who can deploy more lockers on the street. Because this really makes a difference for their success. If they're close to the customers, they have a much better chance of being the winners of that market. If they can deploy faster, then they get more density. They have a better shot at winning that market. So it really becomes an existential thing for them, and it's one of the main points of focus. So for them, it's really about being able to just deploy the lockers anywhere. Like the ideal flow for our customers and for us as well is, I send you a location list, and the locker appears there. That's it. It's that simple. And that's what we do with our partners, by the way. They send us a location list. Usually, they don't even send it anymore after scale. It just automatically comes from their CRM. We have the location list. We analyze it. We understand what's the best for that location, and we deploy the locker there. Ideally, we say no as little as possible. If it's a battery-powered, if it's a grid locker, whatever goes faster and cheaper. That's how we see it.
You just said something interesting there, though. You said you say no as little as possible. What would make you say no to a parcel locker location? We've seen some of these examples have gone viral on social media, like lockers that are sort of at the top of a set of steps, or lockers that are in a no stand.
So this case will always happen.
And, is that the kind of thing we're talking about?
Yeah, and it really depends on how the customer is also acquiring locations. Some of them already have a process where they know that the location is already refined by the time it gets to us. Sometimes it's not. Like maybe they have an inbound process, they get some people contacting them to get a locker. We go on site, we understand, okay, this place is just unreachable. Like no matter what we do, even if you place a locker there, you don't want the customer to go there. So these cases happen, and you gave a good example. Like sometimes it's like the third floor with some really shady stairs. Like you don't want to go there. So in that case, you even should advise the customer, like, hey, you gave me a location, you probably don't want a locker there. We should rethink this. So those are the kind of things. I think historically, for us, maybe a couple of years back, it would be, okay, if there's no power source nearby, that would be a problem. That's why we made the battery locker. So nowadays, we really don't have that. And a fun fact for you, so if you go to the last quarterly earnings report call from InPost, you'll see they're talking about our partnership, which we've closed now to provide them with battery lockers. And one of the things they've mentioned is that in the UK alone, in the last, I think, year or so, they had to basically delete, or not delete, but say no to 10,000 locations because they couldn't get a power grid source there. So for this type of customers, being able to actually deploy a locker that doesn't have power access, for example, opens up a lot of more spots. So this is what I mean by by saying no as little as possible. This is what I mean by it.
Yeah. So there's part of that as well, though. We often think about it, like we talk about customers accessing the lockers.
Yeah.
We do have to think about how the driver is going to access the lockers to drop things off. But perhaps a topic for another day. Let's talk a bit about first mile, last mile, and...
So just before we go there, just on the topic, and sorry to interrupt because it's a great topic as well, but people, I was saying, they focus a lot on this power source, and I think there was like this narrative around solar panels being a good thing because everybody likes solar panels because they're environmental friendly and whatnot. Generally speaking, what we've seen is that solar panels are cool, but for a lot of companies, they end up being almost like a shortcut to achieving autonomy. Meaning, I can make an autonomous locker as long as there's a solar panel on it. And that's not really autonomous. That's almost like cheating a little bit, which is, okay, if you remove the solar panel, then you don't have an autonomous solution anymore, or you won't have it for a couple of days. And for us, it was always about also making sure that we're not outsourcing the problem to our customer, which is, I'm a company, I have a hard time achieving autonomy, truly off-grid autonomy. So now I'm gonna put the solar panels on to make my life easier, and then I'm gonna outsource the problem to my customer, which has an additional constraint when looking for locations. It needs to be outdoor, and it also needs to have good solar exposure. Yeah. Right? So we decided, okay, if we want to have solar panels, we can definitely have them. That's really easy. It's going to make our battery last longer. But if we don't have access to energy there, we don't need to worry about it. We just place the locker and it works. So it's a bit of a different approach where for us to add solar panels, it's really easy. It makes it last longer. For others to remove them is basically impossible.
Yeah. Well, now we've talked about solar panels. We'll move on a little bit. Let's talk a bit about returns. Every company that installs lockers wants to make the most of it. Yeah. There's no point having an asset there that sits there for 24 hours and gets used at best once a day. Ideally, you want to have... I should really make this a question rather than telling you stuff, shouldn't I? How can we make those doors open and close multiple times a day? I mean, returns part of it. How can you encourage that behaviour in customers when it comes to utilisation of lockers?
Well, this is more of an industry-wide thing. As much as we would like, we can't really yet make our customers have more locker traction. It's still a little bit on them. We try to make it as easy as possible by creating a user experience, by being able to deploy lockers everywhere. This is more my personal opinion. I don't think there's a single country in Europe right now where you have a good value proposition for lockers, and this means density and a frictionless journey for the customer, where you don't see locker adoption growing much faster than out-of-home deliveries, for example, right? So as you start building those two things, so density, placing lockers, being close to the customer, and no friction journey for the customers, and this means you have to be easy to reach also from a buyer perspective, right? Like you go to the main e-commerce platforms, you need to have a locker option at the checkout, and it needs to be easy. No additional steps, you just choose the locker and it goes there. If you have those two things, then a locker adoption grows, and I don't think you can find a country where that's not the case.
Well, let's talk about the Dropbox idea.
Yeah.
Bloq.it has a Dropbox solution as part of its suite of parcel locker options. Tell us a bit about it. What's driving that? I mean, did you just wake up one night and say, hey, we should do this? Or is there something more to it than that?
So it's a good question, and this is related to our new product launch, the Drop, which we've just launched, and we're going live with it next month already in the UK. So we're gonna have our first units on the ground, done in record time as well. And the Drop for us was very much come out of first principles, which is you have a locker, and as everybody knows, a locker has multiple compartments. Generally speaking, one parcel goes into one compartment. There's some exceptions where you can put multiple parcels for one person, but generally speaking, one parcel goes to one compartment. And when you're doing first mile from a user perspective, you're placing your parcel inside a compartment for it to be picked up by a courier. Now, in most cases, the vast majority of cases, the parcel size doesn't match the door size exactly, which means you leave some empty volume there. Now, if the courier is picking up your parcel anyway, it doesn't need to be securely segregated door by door. So you could technically have a lot of parcels in a single compartment, let them pile up so you use that volume as effectively as possible, especially with smaller parcels, where you have a lot of them in first mile and growing volumes because of players like Vinted. So this was the first principal approach of thinking, okay, if I make this individual door just for first mile, because the driver is collecting it so that the parcels don't need to be separated, and I let it like physically loose so the parcels pile on top of each other, you end up having a lot more parcel per volume, which makes the place more efficient.
Yeah.
So that's the logic behind the concept of a drop-off box. Yeah.
When we talk about the drop box, it's not I mean, we've got street posting boxes around the world offer a similar sort of thing. If you're operating a drop box as part of a parcel locker installation, can you monitor the volume that's going into that? I mean, if you need to clear that multiple times a day, can you do that? Do you have that technology built into it?
For sure. So our drop box obviously can tell how many parcels go in. So every parcel is, there's a counter obviously in the system because you need to keep track of those things. But there's also ways to see how full it is. Not only if it's full or not, but generally how full it is. And we went further actually. So in some specific cases, so for example, when you're talking about the drop-off box, in our case, we have two different products. They are generally the same. So one of them is an extension to the locker, meaning you have a locker and one of or a couple of doors are taken out and you have a drop box module. And you might think, why do you need that in a locker? Because you can already do returns in a locker. And the idea is, again, like if you can channel all this first mile volume to this box, you can maybe put 30, 40, 50 parcels in, small ones, and you're technically freeing 30 to 40 to 50 doors that would otherwise be busy with first mile. So from that perspective, you can overnight almost go to an existing locker and making twice as efficient in terms of how much parcels you can take. So the unit economics are amazing there. And that's the first product. The second product is what we call a standalone drop, which is essentially a smaller unit. It's almost like a mini locker to some extent that only takes parcels for first mile. And why is that cool? That's cool because in a lot of places you don't have enough space to put a locker, right? So you talk about the parcel shop. It's inside the store. You can't put a locker there because it's too big. But maybe that parcel shop is central and has a lot of volume. What if you could place a smaller device inside and then you have two flows? First, users go to drop things into this box, and to retrieve them, they go to the counter. So this makes it easier for the parcel shop to manage their own parcels because it's separated, and it increases their volume because, again, you're like putting all these first mile parcels in a packed space where they're tidy and they're secure inside the bag, while they can, have more of their own logistics, internal logistics, just to manage the pickups. So this is the second product, which is the standalone. One of the cool things about that product, and now answering your question, is when that thing is full, the parcel shop owner can actually go, grab the bag, put it on the back, close it, and place a new bag inside, and the drop box is empty once again for first mile. What this means is by the time the courier goes to that spot, he might be able to collect 3, 4, 5, 6 bags full of parcels in a few seconds. Literally just pick them up in bulk, put them into the truck. So a very, very cool product. And for the user, it's an easier experience because you don't even need to go to the counter and talk to the person. You scan your barcode, it's a few seconds, you do your return and you leave. So it's a really cool product.
So it's working in say, a PUDO shop or a parcel shop, however we want to call it. It's working as a queue buster. It's dragging people away from the queue.
Yeah, exactly.
And do a drop off.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've seen we can have really big queues sometimes at peak season. So this is important. And even post-peak, when we talk about e-commerce returns, so we're going to be able to drag people away from the queue, especially if they don't need to have an assessment done of their parcel. Yes,
exactly.
It's a bit of a classic. It's like a post office situation. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you've got customers who can drop off in, say, a parcel locker that has a drop box as part of it, or it could be inside the store as a standalone drop box, essentially.
Exactly.
But instead of it just being a bag or a shelf, and there are still companies that do that, we're not going to name names today, but you've got a secure and smart solution. I feel like I'm selling your product for you here, João, instead of asking you questions. But I actually like this concept because it's something we've been talking about a lot, is how to make these things efficient in various concepts, whether you're partnering with a retailer, whether you're going in with a post office, or whatever it might be. So when it comes to the actual tracking of things, this is the other thing, right? Why do people lodge their parcel at the counter, even if it's an e-commerce return? Because they want a receipt. They want some sort of proof of lodgement, let's say. How are you approaching that? Whether it's putting it in a locker or putting it in a drop box, how are you approaching this proof of lodgement concept?
So just to start, good products sell themselves. So it's no wonder that you're almost selling it just by describing it. It is a good product, but it's a great question. And what we think is this is a slightly more sophisticated way than just having a box. The customer will feel like it's more secure. They're not just dropping into a bin. For the shop, it will be easier to manage because everything automatically goes into a bag that they can just close and put on the back. And then you have a lot more analytics around it. It's a more sophisticated system. You can print labels. So even if somebody gets to the locker with a parcel, they don't have a sticker, they couldn't print a label. People don't have printers in their house anymore. Just stick the label in, that's it. So for us, the job, more so than facilitating our customers' lives, which it does, I think it really makes their own customers' lives easier. It's just such a cool concept that me as a consumer, I can go to a specific individual shop just with a box or a bag, do everything there, print a label, leave it on in a few seconds, and I don't need to worry about it, and I know it's secure, and there, I mean, that's what we're aiming at. It's the user experience, yeah.
Let's just talk about the second-hand market then briefly, because this is a lot of what we're reading about at the moment in the media when it comes to parcel lockers and out-of-home delivery in general, is that it's a key part of the success of these second-hand marketplaces. You've got a special relationship with one second-hand marketplace in particular. You talk about that in a second. But when you've got this this sort of relationship, how do you make it? And you've mentioned that people don't have a printer at home.
Nope.
So you're not going to print a label at home, but you've just sold a pair of sneakers or you've sold a lampshade or whatever it is that people sell online. How does that process going to work when they're getting to the locker? Because that's the part of what people are asking in the sector is how can we make this work from a consumer perspective? How can we make it work from an operational perspective? So where does the locker and where does the drop box and the scanning technology, where does it all fit in that?
So it's a big question. I do think for marketplaces in general, and Vinted obviously is the main one here in Europe, making the experience easy for the customer is really one of the main things. You're selling something online, and if you think about why Vinted is successful versus some other classified markets that existed in the past and for many years, like OLX and others, it's the fact that they can just give you the full experience inside. You know, like you don't need to meet with anybody in person. You don't need to worry about shipping things on your own. Money transfer, they just do everything in the platform. It's extremely easy. You list something, somebody wants to buy it, you negotiate the price, you agree, okay, money comes, shipping option is there, and everything is handled for you. And I think this is just an additional step of that, which is like, now I have this network of lockers or drop-off boxes, wherever it is, that are close to me. I just sold something, I just need to go there, drop it off, and I go do the rest of my day. So it's really about just making it easy. We think that the drop is a complement to the locker, the same way a parcel shop is a complement to the locker. If you want to have an extensive out-of-home network, we do think it's good to have all these things combined, because and coming back to what we talked at the beginning of our conversation, you get a location list you want to deploy. Maybe you can put a locker there, maybe you can put a drop-off box. It's still like filling part of that need. Maybe it's a parcel shop, but you just want to have all this density and you want to make sure everything connects with each other and talks with each other effectively. And that's also why we're adding more products to our product line. So now you can have a locker, you can have a drop-off box, everything is in the same system. It's one solution, you don't need to worry about it.
You just said something interesting there that we don't talk about a lot, is that the being close to the customer doesn't just mean having a post office or a parcel locker or a PUDO parcel shop, whatever. There are all those other things that you can do. The parcel drop box. If you're a postal operator, it could be a letterbox in the street. These are all ways to get close to the customer. When you're talking, and just in a final question before we wrap up, we're recording this here at Parcel and Post Expo. There are lots of postal operators, parcel carriers here. What are the problems that they're bringing to you when you're talking to them? Do they just come up to you and say, we want to buy a box? Or do they have a problem that they want to solve? Are they seeing something in the network that they want to address through the solutions that you have?
Well, I think at the end of the day, what these companies need is they want to be able to focus on their core business, which is delivering parcels. It's not their core business to develop and manufacture lockers. It's not their core business to service these lockers. It's not your core business to deploy these lockers. It's not your core business to have to do a lot of software and operations around just the network working. Their core business is delivering parcels. And I think that's what we realized at Bloq.it, which is a company comes to us, we'll build a locker network for you, and we'll take as much responsibility as we can, and we'll do as much as possible, and we hold ourselves on the line to be able to deliver that. So there's this, what we typically call an end-to-end solution, which is we come to us, we do the locker, we do all this hardware, we have the best hardware, manufacturing, etc. We have the software. It's not locking you in, but we can, integrate it and customize it to your needs, but we make sure it works. And then we do the operational services. We maintain, we support, we deploy. The result is you get a locker network that works. Look at Vinted, over 10,000 points in less than 3 years, 5 countries. And we do everything for them, and we're trying to replicate that model with others. And I think for us, it's really, it might sound simple, but it's just making sure that it works. Because the lockers, they're good for the customer. So you just need to make sure you deploy them in the right spots and that things work smoothly, and everything else comes after. So, yeah, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, you just need to make sure the wheel rolls. And that's sort of what you specialize in, making sure things work.
João, we've had a great discussion today. If you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere, just look below. There'll be a link to a website. We might even put João's phone number in there. No, we probably won't. And if you're listening to this on the Postal Hub, go to thepostalhub.com. You'll see the episode page there, and there'll be a link to the Bloq.it website and more.
Yeah.
João Lopes, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Coming soon on the Postal Hub podcast, we've got, loads of great people coming up. We've got Peter Summers, Alan Barry, Carmen Correll from Geopost, and we've got our special end-of-year episode, or episodes. I haven't recorded them yet. What a thrill it'll be for you to find out whether it's 1 or maybe 2 episodes. Probably not more than 2. I mean, let's be realistic here. Anyway, subscribe to the Postal Hub podcast, and that way you'll find out automatically whether it's 1 episode or 2 episodes or whatever. I might get carried away. You never know. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or even, what's the other one? Amazon Music and some other ones, I suppose. I'm not up to speed on all of the platforms. There are plenty out there, though, and the podcast is published across many of them. So subscribe, leave a rating, 5 stars would be great. Anything less than that, I'll feel like it's a personal affront. Oh, go on, leave a 5-star rating. That'd be lovely. Thank you. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, just look for me, Ian Kerr, with a very ancient photo of me. Or you can follow the Postal Hub on LinkedIn. That's better, as I always say, than much of the AI-generated slop that's out there at the moment. If you want to email me, my email address, and I'm a real human, as if AI would generate this, email me at ian@thepostalhub.com. I'm Ian Kerr. Thanks for listening in, and I look forward to your company next time on the Postal Hub podcast.